Hello and welcome back to AP Computer Science, Lesson 8. Today we'll be talking about object-oriented programming, and we're going to cover some basics like objects, classes, and subclasses. So first we're going to talk a little bit about some history, about imperative versus object-oriented programming. These are two common paradigms. So before we had Java and other object-oriented programming languages, we had to use languages like C, Fortran, and BASIC. And these imperative languages only had functions and variables, or another word for function is methods, so they only had methods or variables. They didn't have classes or objects. But with data structures becoming more complex, object-oriented programming became popular, starting in the 80s up until about now. So these include languages like C++, Python, and now Java. So here's some basics about object-oriented programming. An object is simply a set of variables and methods. An object is declared in code, just like you would an integer or a Boolean or something, and it can be used as a variable. A class is a template for the design of the object. So a class is sort of to an object what a blueprint is to a building. And this is kind of important. In Java, all code is written inside of classes. This isn't the case in some other languages like C and C++. Typically, you have one class per text file in your programming project. And a similar analogy, each page of a blueprint should only have like one really intricate design on it. So, once again, objects, they contain variables and methods. We can also think of these as data and functions, depending on the language we're using. These variables and methods can be private or public using the following access modifiers. If it's private, then they can only be accessed by methods of the same class. If it's public, then it's accessible by a method from any class. In general, variables should be private and methods should be public. And of course, they can always be default, which means that we don't have private or public or anything in front of it, which means that it's only accessible by methods from classes in the same project, or package, excuse me. So now that we know what objects are, you might be wondering, okay, well, what are classes? Classes are simply templates for these objects. This is where the methods and variables are defined. All code in Java is contained in classes. One class per text file in general, also. The text file, this is also critical so your program can work. The text file must be the same name as the class. So if we have a class called account, it must be inside account.java. And then to define a class, we simply put our access modifier, right there. The word class, this is a keyword, and then the name of our class, and whatever else we want inside of our class. So some methods, variables, and so on. So we learned in the last lesson about the main method. The program begins running from the main method. And just a quick reminder, this is what the main method looks like. Public static void, main string args. It's a good idea to memorize that. You're going to be using it a lot. Every program needs one and only one, and it's contained inside of a driver class. So a driver class is where the main method is. It can be called anything, and typically you don't make an object from this class. So here's an example. We have our access modifier public. We have the word class, and we call it apples. because I couldn't think of a better name. And we might have some variables declared up here. And of course, we have our main method, the code to run inside of our main method, and some other content here, most likely some methods. Good syntax to use, this is just common practice, is that the variables are declared up top, and the methods are declared down below. That's just common convention, doesn't really matter. So here's a driver class example. This is a program that displays hello world to the screen. So here we have public for our access modifier, the word class, to show that it's a class, and then we called it my first program, because again, I'm not very creative with these names. We have our main method here, and we're printing out hello world to the screen. Congratulations, this is the first complete computer program that we've written in Java. Please be sure to rate, comment, favorite, subscribe, share it with your friends, and so on. Thanks for watching.